Flavor tasting right, pure taste and pure delight. Orange apple cranberry, fruit punch mango, yes sirree. High in energy. Jumping up every day, and I jumping up every night. I think it's back and it's pure taste, pure delight. Energy to unload behind a truck down the road. Details going to explode. Tropical delight, pure taste. Tropical delight, pure taste and pure delight.
Yes, good afternoon. Welcome once again to this edition of the Wake Up Guyana show right here on Kaieteur Radio. Not a beautiful day, and it is getting on to Christmas. I'm not sure what kind of Christmas that we're going to be having, but what I could tell you is at this point in time, it's October the 22nd. Within about 8 days or so, 8, 9 days, it's going to be at the end of the month. And so, what is going to happen after then? Just 2 more months remaining before we head into Christmas, that Christmas season there. We're going to be hearing a lot of Christmas carols. I'm not sure. What I could tell you at the moment is that the country seems to be getting on to some semblance of normalcy, if you could call it that. But people are still really suffering across this land of ours. Plenty things happening. Weird stuff when you listen to some of the classes, online classes that's happening. Babies crying in the background, and it's just weird. It's just weird. I'm gonna tell you a little about that, but it is October the 22nd, 2020. This is the Wake Up Guyana show on Kaieteur Radio. And we coming to you live from our studio here on Saffron Street. You can get us on 99.1 in Esquibo, in Demerara, and of course in Berbice. If you're in Berbice, it is 99.5 FM. And of course, you could get us on Facebook, Kaieteur Radio on Facebook, or Kaieteur Radio live stream on YouTube. So today it's going to be a very packed day. You did ask what are the arrangements with the airport. Well, I'm going to tell you just a little after 2 o'clock, we are going to be bringing on an official from the CGIA, Cherry Jagan International Airport, to tell us about what happens if you book to come on a flight from Guyana, what are some of the arrangements and what's happening so far. So we are getting that person at 1:35 or so thereabouts. We're going to reach a young man selling pizza to get a law degree. Interesting story. Kind of like there's a feel good story. It is when people take initiative and they're working hard, and it doesn't matter pulling out all the stops. This is not about time to throw back and ask for help, but it is help in the case that you don't wait for people to give you that help, but you take the initiative and you go out there and you put your shoulders to the wheel and says, I am going to make it happen. And that kind of determination is a really good thing that I like to see. And it tells me that we have people of caliber in this nation. And when you see a young man that determined, not afraid to tell the world, I'm not afraid to sell pizza or do whatever it takes. And so we're going to talk to that young man in a very short while and then come on right on at just after to talk to CGIA, because a lot of people are interested from overseas. How do I get to travel to Guyana? What are some of the arrangements that are in place? And so I spoke to Ramesh Gir, the Chief Executive Officer of the Chedijagan International Airport this morning, and he willingly agreed for his public relations officer, Chandra Samuels, to be on with us for a couple of minutes to just give us an update as to what is happening. In the meantime, let me tell you what is happening in our Kaieteur newspaper today, because there's some other news we want to tell you about. The biggest, largest selling newspaper that we have in Guyana right now, and it has made a mark on the people over the 25 years that it's been there. From an fully investigative newspaper that started as a bringing lots of news with the crimes that's happening, it has evolved into really looking what comes into your pocket, what matters to you as the Guyanese people, the money that you have in your natural resources. How is it all filtering down to you? And I'm going to also tell you what some persons would have told me, how they'd like to see the oil money being spent on them, how they'd like to benefit from it. And maybe it's something we could have in a little later when we open up our phone lines. I'd love to hear from you guys about how do you believe some of the proceeds from the oil should be given to the people? Should you benefit now, or do you wait until your generations, maybe next 20 years of your children or your grandchildren, that they are going to be there to benefit from it? So we want to hear from you, because the gentleman was very clear that he believes that it should be now, not later, because that belongs to us. Of course, there are two and three sides to everything that we say here, um, and you have that right to tell us what you think. So, man with toy gun storms Chief Justice's premises, and this is a very serious story. If you understand how it is that this story played out. This lady, the Chief Justice, is one of the most senior within our court system, and she would have played a major role in our recently concluded or during those recent court cases involving the elections 2020. She made some strong statements, she made some serious decisions. And so here it is now, while she is about to look at the petition, the elections petition, persons turned up at her house where she's living on the East Bank. I'm not going to call the place. Let us do the right thing here. I think by now people, if they didn't know it before, which I think was very irresponsible, they know where the woman lives now, thanks to some very irresponsible people that we had out there and that use Facebook as well as the news to get her location of her home out. I mean, it shouldn't be so hard if you really want to find out where somebody lives in there, and everybody talks. But at the end of the day, her very position as one of the pillars, the justice system in Guyana, is a very serious incident in which a couple of men reportedly turned up. There's some different statements that are coming out which seems to contradict each other. In the first place, they said one man went there and he tried to tackle a female security guard. She called for help, and then it was the Tactical Services Unit, I think it was TSU. Rank was there and he came out, and the people then dropped the gun and escaped. The gun happened not to be real guns. In some cases, I'm seeing it's an air pistol. In other cases, they say it's a toy gun. In any case, the police have launched a major crimes unit of the police force. They're involved in this case here, and they're looking into it, and they beef up security for the Chief Justice. And you could recall it was the chairperson, the Guyana Elections Commission, who had reported to the police that she was under threat too. So these are very serious incidents that should not be, that you don't threaten people for doing their job. I did receive some threats over the last couple of months, and you take it all in stride, but it's very serious at the end of the day. The fleecing of Guyana series, and this is the main headline in Kaieteur today, in continuance, in its continuing look at what happened to our oil blocks. And they said the Kanji owners will pay no taxes. So how are we going to get our monies into Guyana? The contract signed by the former president, Donald Ramotar, who just happens to be celebrating his birthday today. Happy 70th birthday to former president Donald Ramotar. I understood that it's his birthday today. And the Kanji owners will not pay no taxes. How do we do these agreements? What happened to our locals? How do you decide that these guys are not going to pay any taxes? Well, that is a story that is coming out here. Ex-cop who used uniform to rob teen remanded, and I hope that they find him guilty. Well, let me don't say that. People who use the uniform, and I can imagine the terror that he would have reportedly, whoever would have used uniform for the police and commit crimes with them in the name of the police force. These people here, when they're found and found guilty, they should be really given the maximum or whatever sentence is there. So let me make it very, very clear. There's additional fraud charges for Waldo Lawrence. Waldo Lawrence, the former the PNCR chairperson, the former Minister of Public Health. She has been slapped with more charges here. Carol Smith Joseph, Berbice councillor for the opposition, the coalition. She made a false court appearance. She would have been a observer in the recount process. She is a senior official that would have been along with the elections process as well. And she has been slapped with charges with her role. And I could probably read you that story because that's an interesting story there in terms of what is happening to our elections. And then so this is what it says. As the intense probe continues into the allegations of electoral fraud, 1 second. I think we have some technical issues. If you're missing us, Raj doing something there. If you could be able to hear us, but I don't think you're seeing me. We're fixing that issue here, our people in the studio right now. So let me go back. As the intense probe continues into the allegations of electoral fraud committed during the March 2nd, 2020 general and regional elections, the chairperson of the People's National Congress Reform and former Minister of Public Health, Waldo Lawrence, was yesterday slapped with an additional electoral fraud. Also, a AFC APNO activist, Carol Smith Joseph, made a false court appearance in the company of her attorney Nigel Lewis. Both defendants. Yes, they appeared at Georgetown Magistrate Court. They were not required to plead to the indictable charges. Indictment means that it goes to the High Court from the Magistrate Court if there's a case found for a trial before a jury panel. And so they were slapped with charges there and with a forgery charge. While 3 charges were read to Joseph, 1 count of forgery and 2 counts of conspiring with the returning officer for Region 4, Clement Mingo, to defraud. And so you could see a photograph that's there. And this is a continuing saga that we are paying close attention to. It looks as if the police are very, very focused and continuing. They're calling in people, they're questioning them. And several persons have been charged so far. This is an interesting one here. The Ministry of Labor has issued a warning to unscrupulous security firms across the country over the treatment of their employees. So agree with this one here. We would have received so many complaints of not only late payments, but security supervisors asking female security guards for sex, for placing them in key positions or favorable positions at nice places, if you want to call it that, nice guard huts. And, if you sleep with them, you're going to get it. And these are things, the security firms, they have been known also for not paying their NIS. And so too long we've been getting away with that. It's about time. Like GT&T, people put the foot down on it. And if you can't operate, close down. yank your license if you have a license or operating company, and they should be charged by GRA for the evasion of taxes. Make no bones about this. They're running a racket in Guyana here. It's all about the millions while the poor people suffer. And so I continue here. The warning follows numerous complaints filed at the Labor Ministry by staffers of several known security firms. According to a disseminated statement yesterday, the ministry has moved to publicly condemn the actions of employers who contravene sections of the Guyana's labor laws. In an attempt to fulfill the mandate of the protection of the rights of workers, the ministry noted that steps will be taken to prosecute offenders to the full extent of the law. Upon the receipt of formal complaints, according to the ministry, the notice serves to edify those who may not have been aware, and also to warn the proprietors and directors of security firms currently in breach of the labor provisions. Let's make it very, very clear. We are going to name you and shame you. You continue to do the madness. We are going to do our job to ensure that you don't do that anymore. Our people's rights must be respected. So we continue with the headlines. Thief trapped inside house surrenders to police with hands in the air. And this happened somewhere at Bushy Park, Perica yesterday. The resident trapped the man around 7:30 in the morning. The thief reportedly entered the building just after its occupant, a taxi driver, locked his door and left. However, one of the residents said it seems as though the thief was totally unaware that the tenant occupying the top floor was still in the home. The tenant heard noises coming from downstairs and ventured out to investigate. There was a metal bar lying beside a broken lock. The tenant decided to alert a neighbor, who joined him in investigating the noises. And the men saw curtains moving, and they saw the thief in action after they peeped through the window. The men contacted the police, and they called other neighbors to surround the house. Had this happened in my neighborhood, boy, somebody would have gotten some licks. And of course, then the hospitalized after being chopped by neighbor. Haslington, where the accused changed his plea to guilty for killing brother-in-law. And this is a big one here. This talks about IPAS in Guyana. US $150 million in counting CGIA renovation. Chinese contractor yet to submit revised work plan. You could recall that the president of Guyana, Dr. Airline, would have gone down to the airport there indicating that he wanted to have an idea what is happening with that project. He was part of, or he had responsibilities when he was a minister of housing leading up to the 2015 elections for the airport there, as part of the tourism package that his ministry had responsibilities for. And he was highly interested in what's happening as a president at the airport project, which has been dragging on since the 2011 period there. Almost 10 years we going on. And this project here seems not to be coming to an end. He met with the contractors and all the stakeholders and made it very clear, we're not accepting this project. Guess what? The contractor says, to hell with you. Well, it seems that way, because why would you not, given 5 days, to submit a revised work plan as to how you intend to fix some of the problems that we have? You have not done so. So this thing China Harbor needs to do far better. Well, there are some measures within its contract that is signed within government, and you have other contracts within Guyana. I think we either have to be very serious, or we're going to be the laughing stock. We have laws and we coming down. You have contractors coming taking our monies while people are struggling, and they're moving away with our money. We're taking loans for these things. You're taking our money, and you're not delivering on the job. Something is wrong here. Something is very, very wrong. You need to get your act together, and the authorities who are responsible for looking into this need to get their act together, because the conclusion there is either you're in the pay, somebody's taking pay, or you're not doing the job. There's only two things. It could be a combination of both. The prodigal son has returned, and that has to do, of course, with the Kanji block that's out there, the Kanji and the Kaieteur block. And very quickly, let me read to you what this front page comment is saying here in the Kaieteur News. Former Natural Resources Minister Robert Prasad is back. The PPP's prodigal son has returned and has been gifted a specially created position Foreign Secretary. The nation must ask, why is it necessary for Prasad to be placed as Foreign Secretary? Guyana now knows that Prasad, the former Minister of Natural Resources, was a key player, decision maker, and playmaker in the giveaway in the rich Kanji and Kaieteur oil blocks. Citizens are now waiting answers on the process used, the owners selected, and the reasons for the free giveaway of the two blocks. What started in secrecy and mystery must now be completed. And so very serious questions there being asked. And so in the meantime, before we head into, we are preparing to talk to that gentleman this morning. I did see Commissioner of GCOM says Gunrads would have posted. He met with this guy selling pizza, and there's a story there. I did mention it a little earlier. He's raising money so he could do his law degree. So I did call him this morning. I said, could you come on to the program? Let's talk about 5 minutes. You know, these kind of stories would help our people to understand that sometimes when we take the initiative, help ourselves, it goes a very long way. Do not ask government, do not ask anybody, as they have a mandate, of course, to deliver services. But if we start doing some things off our own, we have to have the determination, we have to have the will. And so he says, you know, sir, I don't, he was a very respectful guy. He says, look, I don't need anything from you at the moment. What I need right now is to, at the point in time when I do have a need, I'm going to give you a call if you would allow me. And so when you hear those kind of language, those kind of attitude, you want to help people like that. So I was hoping that we could probably talk to him, and he's going to tell us some of the things that what compelled him, and how is he making out, and this with UG not happening or happening in some kind of way. Maybe we could see what he's saying there. So in the meantime, let me tell you, it is coming on to 1:27 in the afternoon here, right in the studio. You tune into the Wake Up Guyana show. In a very short while after we interviewed, we are going to be opening those lines as normal. 226-7453. Not now. Let us interview the guy first, and then we're going to come on. And then 622-222. Wherever you are, you could send your messages to that number on WhatsApp or on SMS. And so 622-222 or 226-7453. So wherever you are, I want to say good day to you. The death toll is climbing when it comes to COVID-19. We 117 deaths right now. One more death. I haven't seen the statement so far, but I know that we're up to 117 deaths so far. And I happen to have some family friends of mine who, you know, they're worried because one of theirs end up in the hospital. So this thing is getting serious, more serious and more serious as we go by. As we go along, this morning, of course, I pay attention to what the kids are doing with Zoom. Well, not so much Zoom. They're on WhatsApp and the class is ongoing, and I pay attention. And this morning, you know, they might not want me to talk, but I do talk. My mouth is saying. So I did ask the kid last evening, the son, what is happening with the classes, and so he says, you know, they're packing me up with so much homework. He's there until 11, 12 o'clock doing homework in the night. And he says, I don't have time to study, so we have to go back. There's some kinks within the system. I tell this to you because while I understand that many don't have access to internet or are able to do what they're supposed to do, there are others. And so the system that we have for the education, while we're trying to get the Ministry of Education, they're saying tomorrow, but I spoke to them, and we're not very clear if that is they're still going to be appearing on the radio program, or I put it off for next week. But we want some clarity on it. And so what we have so far is that I heard babies crying, teachers at home, and so they're still dealing with that. So there's a whole, it did leave my mind thinking that teachers and so on, they're going through a whole lot with challenges. Also, you're operating at home, your kids are there, probably you'd have to cook. I'm not sure how difficult, but I know that my expenses, I'd have to do some calculation as to what really would have happened, because you're at home, you're using the lights, you're using fans, you're using internet and so on. Well, the internet, you're paying one fee, you've been paying one fee for that. but at the end of the day, you're no longer paying transportation or gas to take the children to and from school. When you would have seen the light bill goes on, you're not giving them lunch money, or you're not giving them lunch to go to school. So is it going to be cheaper that you operate from home? There's going to be some fallouts, of course, in that you don't have that access of an actual classroom. But there's so many things that is happening there that we'd have to pay attention to. I'm trying to assess it and bring you the details as we go forward. So better value, it's time for that insurance time now. A better value for better protection. Get your ship and cargo covered with us today. CARICOM General Insurance Company, Inc. at 121 Regent and Arnock Streets. To better serve you, you can now purchase your insurance online from the comfort of your home. Telephone 225-1787 or 269-0020. CARICOM General Insurance Company, Inc. They're here to serve you. So in the meantime, we could also tell you that you could remember that there were 2 men or 3 men that escaped from the Lusignan prison yesterday. Well, 2 of them were caught walking on the road or on the roadway on the West Demerara, East Bank Escobar area. And let me tell you what the police are saying with regards to the capture with these 2 men. Let me see what they're saying. Where's the for the court? Okay, recaptured. Swift and tactical action by the members of the joint services following information received result in the recapture of the October the 20th, 2020 escapees from the holding bay at Lusignan prisons. Back in custody are Lex Matthias and Arnold Kennedy. They were captured at the Zeelock Public Road. East Bank Escobar. The prisoners will aid in the ongoing investigation for the escapee, and they will also be processed for charges. Thanks to all those persons who helped to get the information about the escape out to the public, the support of the public for providing information for the location, and the joint services for conducting a clinical recapture. This is coming from Gladwin Samuels, the director of prisons. And of course, let me see if there's any other thing that you should know. I think that's about it. Do we have the gentleman on the line? He's on the line? Yes. So in the meantime, this is exciting. This boy that I'm going to tell you, and he's going to tell you what his name there too. Did say, his name is Joshua Edward. I think there's some other names that he's going to give you. So as we get him on screen there, we're ready to move, and we're going to take it from there. And so you tuned in to the Wake Up Guyana show, and we're going to talk to a gentleman, a young man, who has his future set on becoming a lawyer or being involved in the law area. And he has decided that there's one way that he's going to raise money. And so when you see people like this, you want to help. So we are going to be getting on to him in a very short while. Let me see. I don't think, do we have him on here yet, online? Yes, he's there. As soon as the controllers are ready, we are going to be telling you a little about him. And in the meantime, get ready, because just after 2 o'clock, we're going to be talking to the officials at the Cherry Jangan International Airport there, and we're going to be talking about what the cost. I understand it's about $16,000, about $80 US for a COVID-19 PCR test. That if you come here and the test does not fall within the, I think, 3 days, 72 hours, that you have to do a PCR test, and you could get it back within a matter of a very short while compared to what they have there. So in the meantime, let me also tell you about somebody who would have been sending me a message, and before we open those things, I think we have, let me just read to you what the person has asked me to read to you today. During recent times, our roads have been plagued with vehicle accidents, many of which with fatalities. One of the main contributors to this road madness are tires. Why is the government allowing importers to sell used tires? Mr. Gildarie, does one need a special permit to sell used tires? Isn't there international standard that must be followed to ensure road safety? My advice to my fellow road users is to be careful where you purchase tires. There's a location in Commons Lodge, and they're saying being a supermarket to sell tires. A lot of persons go there to buy. I don't know if they have permission to sell, but what I do know is that the customers are being canned. That dealer only wash and scrub the tires to make them look presentable, and we sell them. Imagine the tragedy that one of these innocent customers met. Uh, if one of these innocent customers meet with a fatal road accident because of the brand new second-hand washed and scrubbed tire. This is shocking if this is indeed the case. This is what I want you to do. This person that sent it, I need you to make a complaint to the police, and there's a body that is called the Guyana National Bureau of Standards, which has a direct responsibility for the importation of tires and used tires into the country. And if you happen to know that, you need to get on to them. Tell them that you got on to us, and we are advising you to do that. And also do that to the police, because there's strict laws about this. You're playing with people's lives. So, in the meantime, I want to say welcome to a good young man of Guyana, and I was impressed by him. And he gave me his name as, or let me just introduce him as Joshua Edward. Josh, welcome to the Wake Up Guyana show, and you did impress me this morning. I saw Commissioner of GCOM says Gunrad's posted a picture with yourself with pizza. I must tell you that the pizza looked good. Tell me about yourself. Do I have your correct name? Because I saw some other names that was there. Joshua
Good
uh,
afternoon, Mr.
Gil.
Gildarie.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
you have the correct name. It is Joshua Edward.
Yes, sir.
I thank Mr. Gunrad for posting and for doing what he did. He really reached out to me, he helped me out a lot. The pizza business, like has been said time and again, it's for me to pay off my UG fees. Although we will not stay there, but it is a stepping stone, and it is the initiative that I took with my mother's help, as she makes the pizza also, to get the UG fees paid.
Well, this is not a story that is new. I saw it sometime back making its rounds around the media. I think you even made the newspaper a couple months back. Am I correct?
Yes, sir, you are correct. I did get help from Safe TV News also, and I appreciate them for that. They brought it out, and many people reached out to me. So many names, so many people, so many companies, groups. If I could mention all of them, I wouldn't have enough time. But I really thank everyone for all that they've done, for all the help and support. And despite coronavirus, I got my second year fees paid, which is a very big plus and a very good plus. Now I'm going into final year, and it's the same initiative, just to be consistent and to keep going so that we can have it done and have it done effectively.
Josh, I must ask you some questions here because people, when you hear stories, people want to get down to details, and of course, I know I might
Yes,
put
sir.
you on the spot here. How old are you, Josh?
I am 22 years old.
22. And where you live in? It's general area.
Right now, I live Grove on the East Bank.
Grove. That's my area there. That's the old Grove housing
Okay.
scheme.
Yes. So, well, some matter point Grove.
Very familiar with that area. So how long did you start this law degree at the university?
Well, end of August, made it 2 years I've been in Guyana. I've been doing the law degree because that was my reason for coming to Guyana. August made it 2 years. So
Where did you come from?
well, I was born and raised in St. Lucia, but
Uh-huh.
both my parents are Guyanese. I
And
was born and raised in St. Lucia. Both my parents are Guyanese.
so you came back here now, and then you decided that it became very difficult for you. Is that why, when I say financially for your parents and so, is that why you decide to raise some money via selling pizza?
Yes, sir, that is the essential reason. I said I will not keep my destiny into the hands of other people. I will make something happen for myself because that is not the way. And I've been in some really hectic situations as it relates to finances, even for law. I mean, there are days when I couldn't get the assignment papers. You would have to go and pay for a photocopy of it. And there were days when I couldn't even get that done. I would have to use my initiative, probably take out a picture or something like that. And I said, this is not going to continue. I can't continue like this. It's
You,
not good. So
you
we
know,
went with the pizza idea and just took it.
you know, you taught me this story, taught me, and I said I must tell you because I've come to a point in time in my life where I'm not ashamed to say where I've come from. That we didn't had a lot, and I think there's a story of many Guyanese over the years. Many of them would tell you the hardship, where they come from, and how they would have reached to where they are. The success stories. We have many success stories that would have come from places like Wakenham and so on, big businessmen that came from there, including my boss, Glenland.
Yes.
And you hear some of the stories that would have come there, it turns your head. I could recall, and you see why your story touched me a lot, is that I like your determination, and I could remember many days that we were taking hand-me-downs. Maybe next door neighbor had the shoes that they were about to throw away, and you were wearing that too. I used to go to Queens College. I remember those days, and I'm not ashamed to say it. And so when I see your story, that a young man, most young men would shy away from not. Selling pizza, they think that, doing something, you're going wrong with a tray. Is it a tray that you have?
It is a trade that we have, yes. The the issue concerns how heavy it may be at some days, but I always tell myself the faster I get it sold is the lighter it will get. So Joshua, you go out, get it sold quickly, your hands will not hurt you. And
And
I tell myself that,
and did
yeah, I wouldn't
anybody
I wouldn't be here forever. Yes.
And did anybody look at you? Did your friends see you? How did your friends and your relatives when you decide to do that? Did anybody say, "Man, what are you doing? I think you made me ashamed or something." Did anybody tell you anything like that?
Not that I can remember. If someone did, I probably just brushed it off
Uh huh.
because I rather do what I'm doing right now than to not know where my fees are getting paid, how my fees are getting paid, sorry, or to not know that. I mean, you speak about stories, and I can relate to you so much because before the pizza started getting sold, I would have to take a bus and sometimes walk into some other point. If class ends at 8 o'clock in the evening, I reach home sometimes minutes to 9 or 9 o'clock, walk into some other point because I want to save the little $100 to add for bus money for the next day. And people
Mm-hmm.
tell me it's very dangerous, and I know it's very dangerous, but if I take a car and go in, then I don't have no money for bus for the next day. So I rather do what I'm doing right now, where I can secure myself that I have some form of financial stability to get things done and to make things happen. So if anyone did say it, I mean, it was their opinion. I no shame in it, no shame in it, no pride whatsoever. We can't live life like that.
And I want to ask you, was it your idea of the pizza business, or was it your mom? Whose idea was that?
Well, it was my idea to start it up here in Guyana. I just told her, "Mommy, make the pizzas. I will get them sold. It doesn't matter how much you make, just make. I will get them sold." And that was my passion and my determination. I see the kind of rigor that she has to go through just to make these pizzas the delicacies that they are. And to come back home with a slice of pizza for me is like telling her that her work was insufficient for that day. I don't know how I would sleep at night, man. So even for that and for law also, I push, and every day. Some days are better than others, but every day that's the goal. The goal is to finish.
How much slices of pizza do you sell per day, on an average?
It varies. It varies. It depends on the quota that we have for the week. So sometimes I may sell less on one day but add extra to another day because there are special days, Fridays, Saturdays, or if we may not sell a certain day in the week because of the extent of classes that I have, then I would have to add in more to another day to make up for it because we're working towards this goal. So we are working as best as possible and pushing for it. if
Um,
it take place.
Young man, let's say that you had the option of asking the Minister of Education or the government for something. What would you ask for?
Had I had the opportunity to speak to a minister of government, I would ask them, to be quite honest, I wouldn't want it to only be about myself, because I had the drive to push forward and to get to go forward, to get this done, and a lot of people have helped me. But it should never stop pushing me. I don't want it to stop. So if I have to speak to the minister, I want us to do something that would be able to create a system on this Guyana change the idea that was implemented. If I had an opportunity just for myself only, but so that we create a system so that everyone could benefit.
I'm
Because
getting.
when everyone benefits, then we will get the results that we want.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying there. Let me ask a question because
Yes.
this would be an interesting thing for the people that's out there, and I like your words, what you're saying there. That you're not asking on behalf of yourself. You actually went into it. You want to fix a system that is going to be fixed. But I want to ask you: did people buy a pizza because it tastes good, or they buy a pizza because they wanted to help you?
Both reasons, actually. They have some people who faithfully and truthfully, and I respect that, they told me that they probably just had lunch sometimes. I'm coming in while they having lunch or just after, and because they heard the story, they told me that just because of that, I will buy a slice of pizza from you. But what I am happy and I'm pleased with is that they don't regret it. They don't regret it. That when I meet them again, they said the pizza that I bought, this pizza was so delicious. So although some people may buy it because they're helping out my UG fees, and I truly deeply appreciate them for that, there are others that also help me. There are others that also buy it because it's delicious. And those that buy it to help me find out it's delicious. And then that creates a ripple effect, which I do appreciate.
I'm gonna be back at work next week. I hope that you come check me out sometime. I'm gonna be talking to my
No
boss,
problem.
and so in addition to that, what would you say? Obviously, I would have to ask you this, Joshua. I think you really impressed me, and if there's anything that really gets me going, that really pushes me, is to see and hear stories like this. What would you say to the people in Guyana? And just before I ask you that, which areas of law do you want to practice in criminal law or corporate?
I actually would like to get my doctorate in criminology.
Uh-huh.
So this here, the bachelor degree, is a first step in a deep, very deep well that I want to dig as it relates to law. I want to become a lawyer, yes, but get my master's and get my doctorate in criminology. So I'm pushing further to see that goal accomplished.
What would you say to the young people in Guyana? What would you say to Guyanese who believe that the times are tough and that maybe there's no way, no options for us? What would you say to them?
My advice to the young people and to Guyanese is that once you are alive, once you are living, it's another chance. Every day is a chance. You have been given to make impact. Set yourself and push for it, persevere. When you push hard enough and you go deep enough, there is nothing that will be able to stop you. Because if we, as over 700,000 people, help out the government, Guyana will become a global phenomenon.
Hmm.
Guyana will become an international and go, not just because we have oil, but we are raising up people that are of such excellence and character that is coming out from this country that when they say that you are Guyanese, you are immediately respected because of what we have given to the world. And we are very much able to do that. We are capable of getting it done. So my advice to them is to keep pushing and keep persevering because it will come to pass.
Joshua, I wish you all the best in whatever you do. We are phone call away whenever you want to come chat. The radio is open, and so we could always talk about things. But I like your positive attitude. I like your go-getter attitude, and these are the kind of
Thank you,
attitude
sir.
that we want for this country. So, my friend, young man, all the best in the future, and I look forward to hearing good things about you. Maybe in the next 15, 20 years, God allows me to live so long that I could hear about this
He
young
will,
man,
don't worry, he will.
Joshua Edward, that he has become one of the top lawyers in the end. Of course, I could hear also that he's going to be calling, representing some defendants free of charge, pro bono, if you understand what I mean. So take care,
By
my
all
brother,
means, by
and
all means.
and maybe you could bring your pizza sometime. I'm gonna have a try of it. And so if somebody wants to buy pizza from Joshua, is there a number that they could call or something, or do you just deliver in a particular area?
Yes, they could call me at 662-4843. That is 662-4843. You can also message me on WhatsApp, and I will give you the whole rundown of everything, all the toppings that we have, the sizes, the prices, a variety, everything that you so desire, you can get it. Wendy's Pizza Parlor.
My friend, take care. Joshua Edward, attorney at law,
Thank you.
in a couple of years. In the meantime, he is pizza deliverer, and what I could tell you is that he's making it to pay his way for a college degree, and that's a good story there for the people of Guyana. Have a pleasant rest of the day, Joshua, and say hello to the family for us.
I will, sir. Have a wonderful afternoon, you too.
Thank you very
You
much, sir.
also.
What a beautiful story that was, Joshua Henry, a young man, 22. And that's a feel. If there's any feel good story for the week that we have heard, that's one. And that kind of make me feel good. And he is just such a humble person. And he's looking at the global picture, which is something that we like also. So, in the meantime, this is the Wake Up Guyana show. We bring into you those stories which can uplift you and to advise you on the way forward. How could we just bring ourselves to the next level? In another couple of minutes, just after 2 o'clock, we are going to be joining you with an official from the Jagan International Airport, because right now people want to know about travel. COVID-19 is upon us, and there were some measures that closed our borders. The airports are reopened, well, somewhat. You have to get some COVID-19 tests being performed. So we would want to go through what are some of the formalities and how does it all happen with the travel agents. And so if you want to come to Guyana, and maybe she could also tell us. So it's Chandra Samuels, and she is the public relations officer from the Jagan International Airport, going to be joining us just a little after 2 o'clock. In the meantime, we did ask you to send us those messages to 6222222. We are going to be reading it, and we are going to be opening up the lines just after we finish with Shanza from the Jagan International Airport there. So let's see what is it that our people have for us today, and it is a good day. Good day, sir. Follow you on your balance, and it's not often seen by the media people. Keep going. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant rest of the day, there, sir. I have a question for the Minister of Health. Why does the Guyanese national entering Guyana has to pay for COVID-19 tests? In other countries like Canada, where visitors have to pay for medical assistance, COVID testing is free for everyone. I can't answer that, but I rather presume it is at this point in time a question of finances. Let's say Exxon workers want to come into the country, and there's some requirements for them. Who is supposed to be paying for that? So there's a whole bunch of things that comes along with this. We are a very limited country when it comes to our resources. Yes, one could very well argue that our monies are being wasted and so on other stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a question of finances. We have to ensure money that was set off for other areas had to be plugged into the health sector this year, because it calls, you could recall, we need things like masks for workers, we need things like suits, body suits, things that cover your shoes, gloves, everything else, caps. There's some special medicine places had to be converted. A whole bunch of resources had to be set up. Doctors and workers being diverted to handle this COVID-19. And of course, it came at the expense at the other areas within the health sector in which people are still suffering from other disease and things like that, normal things that would happen to people in a normal situation. And so it is a situation that we have to continue looking at. Leonard, good day to you and your staff. If the Chinese contractor cannot complete the assignment at the airport, deport them immediately, cut off diplomatic ties with this communist regime known as Red China. Let me be very clear that these Chinese are very disrespectful, cunning, and dogmatic towards the people of the underdeveloped world. Can you imagine if a Guyanese contractor did not complete an assignment in China? He or she would be in jail in China for a long time. Enough with Red China. Pompeo made it clear when he visited Guyana, get rid of Chinese style doing business with the U.S. Guyana and the Guyanese have a right potential of stop doing business with these communists. They do not believe in democracy. Get rid of them from our land, otherwise our next generation will suffer. Regarding the guest, Joshua Edward, let us help the brother. I will call you off the line to discuss it. I'm not sure what is it that he's asking for. I did ask him if there's anything that he wanted, maybe a tablet or something. And he says, no, I don't really need it right now. Of course, I'm going to call you when I'm ready. So smart young man. But thank you very much. But I think the issue here, when you're talking about communists and Red Chinese and overseas people, it has to do with our regulatory framework here and our monitoring of these investors when they come here. How do we ensure that they're towing the line? Because all these things are signed into agreement. Have we really looked into it? Except maybe for the areas of oil. All the other areas are strictly catered for in our agreements. But have we been monitoring them to make sure that what they said or what they said they would have done in their investment agreement with the country, that they have done? If they did not do it, who were the gatekeepers that we have in Guyana that were supposed to be looking at them? These are the questions that we have to ask our inspectors, our different heads of agencies and their monitoring arm. How are they doing it? At the GRA level, Guyana Revenue Authority, who are the persons that are looking into things there? At the Guyana Energy Agency level, at the Guyana National Bureau of Standards level, at the Guyana, we could go to the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. We could go to the GGMC, Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, the Guyana Gold Board. What are these people doing there? They are the regulators. When you come here, you also have to put in for a work permit. If you don't get a work permit, you can't work. So how are you going to do the job? Because you have to fulfill certain requirements. Are politicians put in the hands or directing our officers to carry out their jobs, or is it a policy decision that are based on the law? If you're not in keeping with the law, you cannot get it. So many questions that have to be asked here with regards to what is happening in our beautiful country of ours. So very quickly, let us see what else our people are saying here. Somebody is saying, good afternoon, Uncle Leonard. I heard that India's developed a new test for COVID-19. Call me Uncle Forman. That is relatively cheap. What I would like to know is where the government of Guyana has engaged India, to acquire some of these tests. And also, this is an area in the vicinity of the courts. There's an area in the vicinity of courts in the car park in Diamond where persons are dumping the garbage right on the roadside. We'll listen to your comments. Yes, I did talk about that. There's a very dirty set of people that we have here. With regards to tests, I think Guyana is going to be having some tests that were not tests, the vaccination and so on. That is something that we have been looking at. Obviously, I think they'd have to continue to look at that. Let me see. With regards, let me see, the new test for the COVID-19, you can't just start using tests just like that without it being okayed by the WHO and the PAHO and so on. I mean, these are international organizations that would have been able to determine that, look, if you test somebody using this, you're going to have the right kind of results. But if you have new tests that are coming out on the market and it hasn't been sanctioned, I know some persons are going to say, well, PAHO and the WHO, they're running rackets because they have been looking after their own people. there's two sides to every story, but you cannot just I could present a test to the market and say, well, I've developed this. Who's going to determine whether it's met to the required standards? So it's a little different situation there. Hi, good day. Let me see what I say. I think somebody. Okay, okay. Just bear up a little. Let me get it. This is what we talking about yesterday. Okay, somebody is claiming that a Guyanese man, I'm not sure who's Victor Singh, is threatening them across here. Thanks for reading my message. The people in the government think they are smart to give the Guyanese people 25,000 and then taken back at the airport. When APNO was in power, no one had to pay for COVID-19 testing. Visiting return for Guyana was just visiting. Where would they have the money to pay the airport after being away for so long? These are questions that we're going to be asking in a very short while to the people. So in the meantime, let me see some other questions that we have here. Okay, before we go on, I think we're getting ready for. Yes, we are getting ready to bring on the persons from the CGIA. In the meantime, it is time for the CARICOM General Insurance Company to tell you about what they're doing. A better value for better protection. Get your ship and cargo covered with us today. CARICOM General Insurance Company Inc. at 121 Regent and Arnock Streets. To better serve you, you can now purchase your insurance online from the comfort of your home. Telephone 225-1787 or 269-0020. So in the meantime, let's go back, and we are going to be opening the lines immediately after we will finish with the Chedijagan International Airport there. We are waiting for her to join us. So let us see. It is good afternoon from Esquibo. I do have an online application for Auslat over on the West Coast. I have to travel all the way to Georgetown for the interview, especially in this season. Do I have to travel? Well, I'm not sure how else you're going to do the interview. This is a big deal. I'm not sure whether they have an outreach. You could probably call the Ministry of Housing and find out whether they have an outreach plan for the Esquibo, like how they did it at the stadium. Um, but I think more than likely, this morning I passed there. I did speak to the minister, Colin Crowell, about the crowd that they have in front there because I was worried that they're not practicing the COVID-19 measures there. So he did indicate that he's going to have a look at it, but he says it's very difficult to stop those people from coming because they do have a need. But I did point out to him that you cannot have people there and you're breaching the COVID-19 protocols and so on. We got to be very strict about that. You don't want people dying because we not, or the police are not doing the job, or the guards are not doing the job. So I want to say welcome right away to Shonda Samuel. My dear, how are you doing? Your volume?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me on your program.
Thank you very much, there, Shanza. And Shanza is a public relations officer at Chedijagan International Airport. Happens to be a good colleague. I've known her for a very long time as a very good reporter as well. And she has decided that she's. You've gone across to a very to the almost, it's like what, I won't say private sector, but it's another field.
It's semi-autonomous.
Right, right. Very good. So we're here today because, Shanza, we have been receiving some queries about some of the travel arrangements when it comes to the airport. And so let's go through it. So somebody wants to travel to Guyana, wherever they're living. What is the procedure?
All right. So the first thing you should first know when you're in terms of when you want to travel to Guyana, when you want to travel. Once you've sorted out that arrangement, okay, I want to travel on X, Y, and Z date, then you have to get the COVID-19 test. And this is not just any COVID-19 test. You have to get the PCR test. That is the only test that is being accepted in Guyana by the Ministry of Public Health. And persons also have to understand that this process is being manned because it's a health situation that we're dealing with. So it's being manned by the Ministry of Health. The airport don't have, the airport is not involved in no health decisions whatsoever, because persons have been messaging us, asking us questions as it relates to health, why this and that, but we cannot, we're just taking guidance from the Ministry of Public Health. So with that said, it's the PCR test. The test must be valid within 7 days. The validity of the test is from the first date that you went to take that test to day 7 when you're arriving in the country. However, if the test is between 1 to 3 days, you would not be required to retake the test on arrival at the airport.
So,
But if the test goes beyond that 3-day mark, let's say, for instance, the test is between 4 to 7 days, then you'll be required to retake the test, because I think the thinking behind this here is that persons, some persons might want to go, but might not, because after you've taken the test, you have to go into isolation, right? So persons might want to go shopping to get up stuff for their relatives and stuff. So it's like a safety precaution that needs to be taken.
so I want to ask you, Shanza, with regards to the procedure, where does a travel agent or the airline comes into play here? Because there's some interaction that the passenger would have to do with them. And what is that interaction? Because I understand that there's a fee, just in case the timelines doesn't work out pretty well, including, let us work with that. So I'm interested in traveling to Guyana next week Wednesday. There's a Caribbean airline flight. What is my interaction with that airline, and how does that tie into the time of me doing the PCR test?
Okay, if you're booked to fly next week Wednesday, so you have to take, let's say you have to take the test somewhere. Let's say you take the test on Monday. Now, the airline, you have to provide, after you've booked book your flight, you have to take into consideration the number of days that the PCR test is supposed to be valid. So this is where the airline comes in to check the validity of the test. Now the airline now has the authority, once you pass that 7-day mark, right, for the validity of the test, the airline has the authority to stop you from getting on that flight. But once that test is once the test, the validity of the test is between, let's say, 4 to 7 days, then you pay the fee, which is within the vicinity of $85 to the airline. So you don't, that is for the second test to be done upon arrival in Guyana. So you have no dealings in terms of exchanging payment and stuff when you come to Guyana. You don't have any financial transaction with the lab of itself. You deal strictly with the airlines. So the airlines, in relation to you doing the test and you getting access to the aircraft, the airlines is the first line of contact to facilitate that process.
Well, I want to ask you directly, because when you talk about the validity of this test, I want to be very clear so people could be very clear. You're
All right,
talking, I'm traveling next week Wednesday. You're talking within 7 days. Is it 7 days? I have to do the test within that 7 days. Is that what you're saying when you talk about validity?
Yeah, you have to, the test has to be, you have to do that test within that 7 days.
Right. So it's not that like I did it last week and I got the test results back within the 7 days. You have to do it within that 7 days.
Within the 7 days. So, so the 7 days, so this is how the days are counted. So day 1, let's use November 1, for instance. You visit the doctor to complete the test on November 1. That's day 1, right? Let's say you receive the test on the 4th. Let's say you receive the test on November 3. That will be counted as the 3rd day. So the first day when you receive the test, so my bad. The first day when the test is completed to when you receive the test. That's how the days are counted.
Very good. So let's assume that everything is passed within that 7 days that you received it, and you did not reach that 3 day period in which you get back the test, but you are within that 7 day. What the airline is going to demand from you is $85 because that $85 guarantee that when you come in Guyana here that you do the test at the airport. Now, my understanding is that the Eureka Lab, which is an independent lab in Guyana, set up an operation at
Right.
the airport, and
Yeah.
they are the ones who are going to do the test. Now, what happens when the passenger, we moving forward now that you land in Guyana, that you passed everything across there and you land in Guyana now, that you did not fall within that 3 days, but you fall within the 7 days. You're required right away because if you go beyond the 7 days, you're not going to be allowed on the flight. So you fall within that 7 days, but not within the 3 days. So you're required to do the test at the airport at Eureka Lab, because
By
you would have already had to pay the $85 down there, so you don't have to pay it across here. My
no.
question to you, therefore,
Mhm.
what happens to that passenger who takes that test, that would be forced to take that PCR test? The PCR test, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is the one that you do it through the nostrils. I think it is. It's the only accepted test. That
Mhm.
there are people there and they put it through the nostrils and they take a swab of you there. But what happens to that passenger who takes that test there?
Mhm. What do you mean if they remain at the airport
Yeah,
or
do they remain at the airport? Do they send them elsewhere? Do
no?
they put them in
No.
isolation?
No. After they would have completed the test, the passengers get to leave the airport. But actually, the Port Health Authority, again, this process is manned by the Ministry of Health. So the Health Ministry will require that they self-isolate until they receive the test. Now, this is where the passengers must bear in mind that they need to submit their correct contact numbers because the Port Health Authority, once they have received the results of the test, will be contacting them directly to indicate to them, well, whether they're positive or negative.
Very good. And so, in essence, what you're saying there, after you would have taken, if you do not fall within those 3 days, but fall within the 7 days, mandated to take the PCR test here, that swab, that you would be allowed to go home, but you have to self isolate. Now, my
Yeah.
question,
And
yeah, go ahead.
I should also state, I know you asked the question earlier about the airline's role. The airline is also they usually have prepare a document of the list of passengers. So by the time persons get to Guyana, we already have an idea of how many persons would need to be retested. So the process is pretty smooth and seamless.
How long after you would have tested at the airport do you normally does it take for you to receive those results back?
It usually takes between 4 to 6 hours.
4 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
That's interesting compared to, and I'm glad that we have done that. Now, there's one other question I think which Guyanese should know, because obviously the
Mhm.
big thing is there were some people who were afraid that we're opening up our airport back again, and there are going to be some issues. I'm being told, although the government and the authorities have not said anything, that since the reopening of the airport in this controlled environment, that people have been coming in, and of course, they have a number of them would have been tested because they fell out of that 3 days, but within the 7 days. We did
Mhm.
not receive one single positive
Yeah.
result as a result.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could Is that confirmed?
That is confirmed. We're very pleased about that, but we're not going to be complacent because we know that we're dealing with a pandemic
Uh-huh.
and we have to take all the necessary precautions to ensure that our passengers are safe, our employees are safe. So we're pleased about that, and we will continue to enforce strict measures to ensure that everything goes well for the traveling public.
And Shanza, I do happen to have another question. I'm not sure whether you're armed. Just to put this in
Mhm.
context, how many passengers or how many persons flew into Guyana since the airport would have lifted the or put some measures into place to allow flights to come back?
Oh my, I'm sorry, I don't have that information on me at the moment, but I'll be sure to get it
Thank
to
you very
you.
much. But it would have been in several hundreds.
Yes, yes, correct. I don't have the exact figure.
Thank you very much. Is there any other thing that you would want to say to the Guyanese people? I think you're right. I think what you've said is very, very clear. Let me see if I put it in a
Okay.
nutshell back
Mm,
and as a
oh,
reporter.
yeah. No
So
problem.
if you're flying, if you're interested in flying to Guyana, before you come to
Mhm.
Guyana, it's mandated the Guyanese government via the Ministry of Health rather is
So, uh-huh.
mandating that you take a test, a PCR, the only acceptable test, which would give you your
Correct.
results. And this has to be
Correct.
taken within 7 days. And so
Yes.
within 3 days is where, if you don't want to take another test in Guyana, it has to, you take it within, your results within 3 days will allow you to land in Guyana and be free to walk out of the airport without having to do any other checks or so on. If you take it and the results are within 7 days, you are bound or you're mandated to take another test in Guyana and you pay that money there at the airline over there, which is a $85 requirement. And it's the
Yeah.
only way that you could get into Guyana. When you come here, you do that test, and it's mandated to self-isolate until your results are back. It could happen within a day or two that you could get back your results. Have I said it basically what you have?
Yes,
Thank you very much.
perfectly.
I'm a good
All right, I
reporter then.
just I just want to touch on a very important, which is a great what do I say, a great step for us in our COVID-19 fight. So CJIA was the second airport in the Caribbean to have received the Airport Health Accreditation AHA certification from the
Mm-hmm.
Airports Council International Latin America and the Caribbean. Now, this is an international standards which basically looks at the measures that airports put in place as it relates to COVID-19. So this basically gives our traveling public the confidence that the measures implemented at CJIA are on par with international standards. So we're very pleased about that achievement. We try to put systems in place for passengers traveling. These are some challenging times, so we want passengers to feel safe and to be rest assured that what we have put in place are for their best interests.
I thank you very much for that. And there's two questions I
Awesome.
think somebody's asking us before you go. What is it
Okay.
that they spraying the people with when you come through off the air thing? Are they spraying you or something?
Well, we're spraying the luggage.
Uh huh.
Uh, we're spraying the luggage with an 85% alcohol-based substance. So that's what we're doing right now. We have the thermal imaging cameras. So, oh, and I should also mention that we've actually started to recommence using the boarding bridges
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Oh,
with all
it's
the
back. It's
strict.
up and running.
Yeah, it wasn't I should also say this, it was never not functioning. We just suspended it at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, but now we have put it back into use
Mm-hmm.
with strict COVID-19 protocols in place. So we have the thermal imaging cameras set up just on the boarding corridors. I'm not sure when last you visited the airport, but just as you come off of the boarding bridge, there's a thermal imaging cameras there, so it captures the body temperature of every passenger. So, and that is recorded, and the port health documents it. And once the temperature is above a normal rate, the camera alarms, and that person is set aside, and then port health does the necessary.
Thank you very much for that. And I think just a little clarification. When you come and
Mhm,
do that test, that PCR test at the airport, let's assume that you have to do it. Do you
mhm.
remain at the airport or are you allowed to leave?
When you do the PCR test,
Yeah.
yeah, you're after completing the test, you can leave.
And there's somebody is going to call you. They take your information. They're going to call you.
That's why it's important that passengers present valid and accurate contact information, because as soon as your results are ready, the Port Health, well, the Eureka medical people will contact you.
Thank you very much, Shonda.
Port Health.
Thank you
No,
very much, Shonda Samuels, and she's the public relations officer of the Chetty
no
Jagan
problem.
International Airport. And so, what we're going to tell you just before I give her over to her again for any closing remarks, we will be talking here about some of the requirements. What about kids? Some persons were asking about children and how are they testing. Let's say you have a baby, or how they treating that.
All right. So this is a question for the Ministry of Health, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll touch briefly on it
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not an expert in that area.
Sure.
So the Ministry of Health recently revised the policy as it relates to children. So under this policy, it says that children under 2 years old are not recommended to wear masks. I'll give you all, it's not a lot. And children under 2 years old traveling with parents or other authorized adults who have tested negative are not required to be tested. Children above 2 years old must present a valid negative PCR test result. And no child below the age of 13 years old is required to be retested upon arrival in Guyana. So those are the new policies that the Ministry of Health has put in place as it relates to how they deal with children and PCR testing.
I think that is very, very clear, and I think you've
Yes.
been very clear in whatever you want to say. Any other thing that we missed that maybe you think is important for the people of Guyana to know?
Uh,
All right, I'm going to visit the airport sometime. I hope that Mr. Gear and yourself have something that we could eat up there. And I know
yes,
that.
sure. Just tell us when you want to come and we'll prepare a brunch
Oh, you
or
prepare brunch?
lunch.
Okay, it's ordinary Gildarie you're talking to here, man. But I do appreciate the offer, though. But
All right,
Shanza,
thanks.
yes, Shanza, thank you very much, my dear, and have a pleasant rest
You're
of the day.
welcome.
Give our regards to the
You too.
hardworking staffers at the airport.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank
Have
you
a
very
good
much.
day.
You too, my dear. Chandra
Bye bye.
Samuels, Public Relations Officer of the Chetty Jagan International Airport, sharing with us some of the measures that are in place, what is happening, and how things are supposed to be if you come into Guyana. And I know that many persons would have been very interested in some of these measures that are in place. And I think she was very, very clear as to what could be. Steve Reese is asking what's a PCR test. The PCR test is the accepted test for the COVID 19. They put something up your nostrils and they remove some residues there. I gotta find a better word, and they test it, and that's able to determine whether you have any traces of the COVID 19 virus in the system. It's what is accepted by the government of Guyana based on the WHO PAHO standards across the world. So wherever you are, this is the Wake Up Guyana show. Your host Leonard Gildarie, and we have been joined here by WR Riaz. He's going to be hosting the show in a very short while at 3 o'clock. We are tuned in to the Wake Up Guyana show here on Kaieteur Radio. We are coming to you live from our studio here at Saffron Street, also on 99.1 in Esquebo and Demerara 99.5 in Berbice. It's 226-7453. We want to see those calls start coming in now, and of course send us those messages at 622-222. Let us hear from you right away. 226-7453. Do we have a one caller in line there, Rat? Yes. I think he says yes. Yes, good afternoon, caller, you're on the air. Go right ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gildarie.
Good afternoon, sir.
Very good clarity to some extent by the CGIA there, but that would have been better even also to get the Port Authority people from the airport to bring more clarity. But the thing is, a reliable source from outside of Guyana, and this is New York, saying that accessing this PCR test has attracted an enormous price, and as much as $1,000. And so I know people over there who want to travel should try to see where they can get cheaper costs. But I think exploitation is happening down at that end, in North America or New York to be more precise. But that's what the Americans are offering, worth almost $1,000. And someone who I know who wants to come in December is on shopping for PCR, not necessarily VCR and other CR things. And so that might also be a hindrance on the cost of tests down there in the New York area. And maybe your listeners and, of course, people in New York who are listening right now can also, want to bring information where, which centers or hospitals that you could do PSR or the PCR test at a reasonable cost. But I suggest you also get the Ministry of Health and the Port Health Authority. And this is not, I know for a fact the Port Health Authority has been almost on every flight for years now. It's not only for this pandemic. That gentleman who was retired recently, Dr. Shamdev Prasad, even as CMO, I've seen him very early in the morning. And one time I saw him, I said, "Hey, you're going to the same flight?" He said, "No, I'm doing work." They do their work very vigilantly in and out of COVID. So they have a strict system there, and they will apply the strict system of Port Health for anyone who wants to come in the country. But my bonus, apparently it's very costly. And if you can throw out to your listeners and people out there in New York where they could get a reasonable costed PCR test. Good afternoon. Have a good show.
Thank you very much, sir, as a normal, all-time, right on point there. We'll have to get some clarity. Riaz, I'm not sure if you have any idea what is happening over in the New York and Canada side of things with regards to cost.
A little bit on New York, and good afternoon, everyone. And I recognize the gentleman that called us just now there, a very ardent listener at the same time. He is correct. And there's been a huge, from what I heard, increase in getting the PCR test to get it back in a very well-timed manner. That has been the problem. However, I am also aware, I was only a couple of days ago talking with someone in New York, and when I was telling them about, at that point in time, I thought it was probably about $100 or $120 for Guyana, but we now know it's not that. It's even cheaper. They were telling me that you could still get it at the hospitals for free, but here's the problem. The time frame. Remember, you're working with that window.
Right.
Of that 7 days window. It have to be valid within that window period. And that's where you may have a little bit of problem. In terms of actual labs on their precise cost, I may not be able to advise on that. But I know of at least one lab in the Queens area that is charging $150
within the 7 days to get it within
this is where it comes back again. You may not get it back within the 7 days.
Well, that's the issue, and I
that
presume
is the major issue of where the last caller have made reference to. It could get as high as $1,000 to get it back within that 7 days. I think what may be the best piece is those persons who came to Guyana already, if the health authorities could get that information and share it with people like us. And, we could be able to advise the listeners and viewers as to how they could. But I know that has been a challenge. I know of a friend during the time before the airport opened, had to pay up to $500 for 2 tests because the flight was delayed and then he got to go again, so had to get another test. And between the 2 tests, it cost $500. This was around, I think, June. I think when they were bringing in those repatriation flights, if you want to call it,
right
before the airport opened. So yes, the last caller makes very valid point, and that is.
We got to try to bring those authorities here, but
what we could do is to ease a little bit on this. Is if we could get some information from those passengers that landed. If the health authorities could call, and maybe you could get back to the PR or someone, or maybe that caller could assist us with some numbers as to where they got the test done, what was the cost, so we could be able to share this with prospective persons who want to come maybe December to Guyana, probably.
Yes, definitely. We got to try to get hold of those persons and see how we could, bring some more light to it. Because right about now, it's a little murky. What I could tell you is that the ones who are traveling to Guyana, this is not normal time. I would suggest that unless you have business to do or there's something very pressing, because of the risk that's involved,
Yeah,
and this is not normal time, do not travel. Do not travel.
I would have echoed the same sentiments in the past, and I would want to echo the same sentiments again.
Do not
That,
travel.
yeah, um, let us. If you know that you're in a safe ground at the moment, you normally come and bring like a $2,000 for the family and a little box. Here, what happened? Take the 2,000 and just send a barrel to the family this year. Send the barrel off early so they'll get it in time for Christmas. Don't fight them to come.
And I agree with you that. So it is the Wake Up Guyana show here on Kaieteur Radio, and we coming to you live from our Saffron Street studio. Do we have a call online there? 226-7453. Good afternoon, caller on the air.
Good afternoon, Leonard.
Good afternoon. Could you lower volume on your radio or something? There's something is feeding back.
No, I don't have a radio downstairs.
All right. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
I don't think so. No, I got a problem here, Leonard. Now, when the APNU government was in office for 5 years, right? Where were those squatters? We never hear about those squatters, right? Now, this government in office, these squatters, they automatically come on there. Now, where they go to the sugar estate, they hear the sugar estate going to open, okay? Where are you going to plant over cane to get the estate to work and everything? These people have been set up to do this kind of thing. And it's very ridiculous to do something like this. Now, why they don't go to those people who have land for years and not building or anything like that? A lot of empty land.
Yeah, I agree with you. That that they have to be thing. But let me tell you this. I think to answer your question, I would want to put it this way. We have a culture here. I'm not saying everybody. We got a lot decent people. We're decent people overall. But there's a few who just like breaking the law. I saw a photograph this morning that shocked me, and I want to know if our regulators or the authorities don't exist. At Breeden Hope, if you're familiar with the West Demerara, as soon as you hit the traffic light there, there's right at the junction there.
Yeah.
There was a big problem there with a gentleman who was building, taking over the reserves and so on. You know what somebody did? On the sidewalk that people got to walk, put a snacket on top of that sidewalk. Where you expect the people to walk?
I just can't understand these things.
No, but hold on, it goes farther than that. Opposite there, the police people would be there directing traffic. A few houses away, or a few buildings away, is the Regional Democratic Council. A few buildings away, there's the police station, the Vredenhoek police station. Next door to that is the magistrate court. What are we doing?
I don't know, man.
But you understand, it's a culture that we have here of breaking the laws that we want to do it. But I mean, I'm not sure. And any other points that you want to raise?
Yes, Leonard. And this police, then, what we have here, I don't know. Things is doing in the wrong way, and this police them stand up right there and not doing anything about it. What we need to do, I was saying something like this, yes, and we have to get a stronger minister for this home affairs.
Well, I think that's something that they probably need to look at. I'm not sure. I've been trying to reach out to Mr. Ben. I haven't received a reply. I know today happens to be cabinet. It's Thursday. We're going to try to bring him on and find out what exactly is happening with regards to law and order in this beautiful land of ours.
Because, for instance, now, look what happened to the acting chief justice, right? Police are right there. A man got a revolver. A bandit come in there. He didn't do anything. A man had the time to scale the fence and get away. And he didn't do anything like that. What nonsense is this? You believe it could happen in any other country like this? In this country? We have lawlessness is really going on.
Squatting.
It's really taking advantage on this government.
Squatting, taking over reserves and things like that. People believe that because it's there that you do that. You can't do that. You can't take over. That's like taking away yours and mine. It belongs to us. It doesn't belong to you alone. You can't just take it over and says, well, it's here. We'll give you the right to take it over because you're a bully?
I tell you.
No, it cannot. It cannot be.
You see what happened? I can tell you something. If was the PPP in government and they were doing something like this, you would see what happened.
Well, let's see what happens. I hear your point though, and it's duly noted.
Okay then, thank you very much.
Thank you very
have a
much,
blessed
dear.
day.
God bless you too.
That sounds like the erroneous statement from the leader of the opposition right now about lands.
I'm not sure,
Um,
but let me tell you this.
You know,
They
it's,
cannot be the lands of the state reserved and everything belongs to the people. And while you could probably use some arguments, well, if it did, I could take it. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't
There's
work
a
that
system.
way.
If that did been the case, people would see an empty lot in Diamond and jump on with it and say, "Let me take it." That's
Yeah,
not,
so-
or go down at the back and see wherever land it is. Take it. It belongs to the state. If we do that, then we might as well see somebody, wife or somebody, and these are things, and then say that's okay. This is
yeah,
not okay.
law
You
and
can't do
order.
that.
We have to understand that, and you know, that's where law and order comes into play, and we have to understand the process. Yes, I know sometimes the process takes a long period. I'm hoping that the process could get better and individuals could be more proactive and it fast up the process so that it ease the burden on applicants and so forth.
Did you see the picture of the man building the snacket or putting a snacket on top of the sidewalk?
I did not actually.
I'm gonna send it to
saw
you.
I saw the picture of the minibus that is across the drain.
How did he do that? Any idea?
I would really like to know how that happened.
Well, if you missed it, next to the Barbie's car park,
Just
somebody.
Mahika corner, right? Mahika Barbie's Park, right about here.
Yes,
Redford Water Street corner, right? Yeah.
right across the canal, a minibus parked from one side of the canal to the next side on top of a pipe. Unbelievable. How did he do
Unbelievable.
that?
Then a ladder was mounted across the canal so that passengers who were in the bus came out. Thankfully, that there were no injuries.
I think maybe what happened, he put the bus in reverse and then mashed the accelerator to go forward and then lost control. But how it happened and how he ended up there, you got to see it. We can't explain
But
it to you.
I'm sure a lot of persons have seen it. But the thing is that it happened so fast that there was a long space, which is about 5 feet, 6 feet from land to the next part where you will consider as land. Hey. And they say evil can evil bad, man. They didn't know these Guyanese drivers.
No, we got some bad men here.
You remember? I know the time when the car drive up the medium at about Macdum or Agricola. Now that is possible because as he went up, his car take the upward of the medium and he sits in the middle of it. Now I understand how that is possible, but this one with the minibus, it's I'm still to enlighten my mind as to how did it actually occurred.
Let me read a couple of messages here very quickly. Mr. Gildarie, that man gave wrong information. I paid at a government place for $100. I came August, the 12th of August. Some doctors ripping off the people. Secondly, let's go forward. Good afternoon. My question, where do you send the COVID-19? That's exactly my question. Okay, she answered the question. Okay. Let me see what else going on. Good afternoon, Leonard. I hear person talking about use tires and safety. But was there a study on how many accidents have occurred due to a defective tire? Persons are driving their vehicle with tires that's well below the minimum tread, which is 1 millimeter. I think what is accepted, and I bought 4 tires recently, and it became a habit now that I don't buy used tires. What the reason for that? I bought, for the first time in my life, I could have really afford it. I saved up, grabbed some money there, and I bought 4 new tires, and it lasted for about 2 years. The only reason why I decided to change 2 of them is because a long screw went in. I went up to Barbies, and a long screw went into one of them, and there was a plug.
So
and
in other words, you got screwed in Barbies.
Yes, I got screwed in Barbies. So
that's double
I went
checking.
up, I was going up back to Barbies, and I didn't want to drive the long way with a plug in the tire. So I went and I was forced to buy 2. And I asked them, when was that tire manufactured? The new tire that you're selling me? They said, this year. So I was a little happy that because you could buy a new tire that was manufactured 10 years back.
Correct.
You got to pay attention to these things. So there's a couple of
Little
things.
details.
So You could buy used tires that is going to be thing, but when it comes here and it's already used, you don't know why somebody changed it. It could be because there's winter coming on and you need winter tires and they get rid of it. So there's a variety of reasons, but be very careful. I'm not going to say which is the best tire to use. I'm not the expert in that, but there is not a lot of persons could really afford to buy the new tires. It's expensive.
I could tell you this much. Though I'm not an expert, I'll tell you this much. There are some used tires. And if you're conscious to listen to what I'm saying, it's facts. And you check. There are some used tires that is even better than some of the brand new tires. And let me explain my theory behind it. I use Bridgestone compared to but of course, it goes to the amount of drive-in, the amount of tread wear on it at the end of the day. A brand compared to one of the brand new Chinese tires, the used Bridgestone might be better because it have the reinforced wires that is inside that some of these Chinese tires are not coming with the reinforced wires.
You're talking about the new ones even?
The new ones. Now, not like I'm being supportive. I am simply making a point. I want to make sure that you know what you buy for your safety. Know what you buy for your safety. Because what may happen, one of that less tire without the wiring and the reinforcement inside may last less time than a used tire, which is a branded tire from a company, maybe Bridgestone or Firestone or BF Goodrich. The amount of standard and that they had to pass before. But at the end of the day, you need to make that decision, a conscious decision. Your life, your safety of yourself, family, and others are also involved in this.
Thank you very much for that, WR Riaz. It's a Wake Up Guyana show, and we have roughly about 50 minutes or so thereabouts. And here's a question. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Could you say if the Suriname border is open? What we could tell you, it is not.
It's not open, is it?
What we could tell you is that recently Suriname's foreign minister, Albert Ramdin, I think it is,
yes,
came to Guyana, and there's talks about the putting back of that ferry that was working across the Quarantine River to between the Molson Creek and Suriname, to put it back into service. However, that's still in the talk process because there's a lot of things that would have to happen.
And I'm sure that the health authorities on both ends will have to play a role again. So that part is a little iffy at the moment. Yeah.
And of course, the issues here are raising concerns. When you open in the borders, how are you able to control? If you can't control the crowds on the seawall or the madness that's happening. But whether we like it or not, people are doing the crazy things. So what you could do, because it was good news what we're hearing there from the CGI a very short while back, in that we opened our airport in a controlled manner. You demand the test, and so far I think it would have been several hundreds or maybe even in the thousands would have landed here. So far, out of those tests that they would have done at the airport, none has come back positive.
Well, that's
and
great
so
news.
that's a good thing. So is it working that we have decided to take that up? It's going to be an expensive thing.
Yeah.
But closing the airports and closing the borders forever, it's not going to work.
The thing
It's like
is that I've been saying, and I've been hearing a lot of persons are saying, well, the new year, COVID is going to go away. COVID is not going away in the new year. And some persons might say, Riaz, you're talking nonsense, or some person might say, he do have a valid point. What we need to understand is that we'll have to live with COVID for a period of time before it goes away.
Let me make a call. I like to make calls. I made calls during the elections, and all of them came
through.
Right. I'm going to make a call here now. This is not going to go away till about next year, September. Then we might have to look back at it again. We have until here, another year.
Because there are trials of the vaccine and
Right.
the vaccine and all of that. And when the vaccine comes out, it will take a while to get into. It'll be a scamper as to who knows who to get 1,500,000 pieces of vaccine to get into our country. The U.S. is focused on getting vaccine for the U.S. right now, before the world at large.
And they're the big players.
Exactly. So let us not think that, hey, we light some fireworks on the 31st of December, and the fireworks is going to take away COVID-19. No, it's not going to happen. And people need to understand that. By saying that, I say that to back this up, that yes, business have to go on. Life have to continue. But you have to do it in a controlled manner, as it is. All right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, the other day, Leonard said he went by one of the fancy rum shops. He didn't call me, but them places got to make money. All right? People working there. People are working there. People have been laid off. And, you know, it is worrying. I have a friend of mine who ventured into a business that complete maybe about 4 months now. The business is just sitting. Every day he's going to sweep it so don't take cobweb. But he's waiting to open when the time is right.
But you know, you're talking about jobs there. We have some entrepreneurs in this country, and COVID-19 has created the entrepreneurs. You're wearing something there, the mask.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's a big business, right?
It's
So
a big
people are actually
business.
delivering it. People are
Yes.
actually home delivery.
The
and things like that.
delivery
Big business.
service have went up.
Right.
I saw a very gripping story on Newsroom about a guy who was laid off from an airline, and he formed a delivery company.
Mm-hmm.
He employed himself is working along with I think 3 other or 4 other persons, created employment for a demand of service during this entire pandemic time. So yes, persons are thinking and coming up with initiatives. I give those persons kudos. But like the words, and I'll paraphrase these words, these are not the exact words of the president, but he did say that we have to live with COVID, and he would like to open the country, because if he don't, we will be in a worse state when we do open it for economic wise. And that's me paraphrasing a statement by His Excellency, but that's what he meant, Excellency President Finale. So we are seeing that. We're seeing that. But my words to everyone: be conscious of it. Let me give you a quick example. I heard of an individual that was tested positive, and then that individual lives with their parents, and that parents works at 2 public office. Can you imagine the psyche of what's happening there?
Mm-hmm.
One person got COVID, tested positive, lives with the mother and father. The mother and father is working in public office. They were waiting on their results. I haven't got back an info what happened to that 2 individual. But could you imagine mom's public office and dad's public office, after hearing that daughter got tested positive? Can you imagine what's happening in that community?
Exactly.
So this is why we gotta be careful.
Well, let's see what happens here. The Wake Up Guyana show, and I think there's another caller online. Yes, good afternoon, caller, you're in the air. Hello.
Good afternoon, Kaieteur.
Yes, it is Kaieteur Radio right now. You on the air. Go right ahead.
Hello?
Yes. Could you lower your volume on your radio, please?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm calling from Enmore.
Enmore.
Here, son?
Yes, go right ahead. You are in the air. Go right ahead.
Yes. I get to hear some day ago, I think it was yesterday or some time ago, when people call in and say, the chairman is disrespectful of Enmore. That is not true. Which you know you have family also in Enmore.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find out for your family the reaction of this chairman. You know, sometimes some people just want wrong things to do. That chairman is a very good chairman. You can't find no chairman.
Go ahead.
In
Go
any
ahead.
community where I observe. And let me tell you clear, I was the opposition, right? And I sit in there as a PPP counselor inside of there now. And if that man doing something wrong, I know the system when somebody doing something wrong as an opposition at that time. In the previous government, well, when there, I was siding with them and cooperate with them with certain things. But when it's so lawless, I walked away from that. And I deal with now with this council here.
Mm-hmm.
I am not representing the chairman, but I'm representing my community for each and every individual.
Right.
Right? That's what we are standing for. You cannot allow, and the chairman cannot make decision he alone. Is a body of a council.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Entirely body. And it's not make up the council inside and more. It's not make up with PPP alone. It have APNU representative as council in there.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing outreach with people, you don't want a war. You have to find solution. And we have a good chairman there, and I think, to my knowledge, that chairman will have to continue and continue, because you can't go today or tomorrow and finish all these work what have been left down under the new, previous administration.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take your time, write your letters, let it take time to process to ministers and all this region and all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It not appear overnight, but we are trying the best to make every community in the right way. And I hope that the other NDC do the same as and more. The other NDC, so you will not, you can't please everybody, which you know that. You will try the best interest to make sure you find some solution.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take government reserve. You know, and what the man say again too, he says that the man working with Kumal Chan, then you're talking about years gone back. You can't bring grievances now. You have to try work together and make things happen.
All right, got it very clearly, and thank you very much.
What I need more, next thing, and I hear the gentleman talk something about the police. Who get interference with the police will talk, and who get victimized with the police. Instead and do the story in the right way, you call it professionally. If you they're on the right side of your report, they turn it around.
Mm-hmm.
And you get it wrong, and them get it right. The Minister of Home Affairs, he alone can operate. That's why you have branches and set out people. What I need to get. And then I hear you use a statement of training. In that training program is exactly the thing what you said. There's something wrong inside that training program. You need people who come from foreign to set the rules and regulations, because you know why? All is body and system, family and related and whatever. So the poor police force will not work along with the law and order. They will pretend that the law and order is there, but you get trapped.
Thank you very much.
What I'm saying, we need people in this country to put Guyana laws in the right way. It's not only because you live in Guyana and you in Guyana, you know all the law. You need people from overseas to come in and make sure this police force be strong. So none of them can take bribe and take money from the poor class of people, and then somebody call the police, get contact, and use story, sell out for nothing. Use story, there is no report.
All right, I got you very clear. I got you very clear on that, sir, and I think we're very clear as to what you want to say. Okay?
Yes, I appreciate that you put it up in front of the ministers and stuff like that, and let things settle.
All right,
We
no
need
problem.
all the races together to build Guyana.
Got you. Have a pleasant rest of the afternoon, dear.
You too. Bye.
Thank you very much, dear. So we're coming down to program time. Let me just read a couple of messages. Good afternoon. Tents and seats were provided the Ministry of Housing applicants this morning. So somebody's paying attention. Thank you very much, dear Minister of Housing, Colin Crowell. Who prepared and reviewed these oil contracts? Does the government have legal department? That's one. Hi, Mr. Gildarie. I'd like GPL to put some lights on the road on the Neiman. It has not been working in our streets. None is working. It's very, very dark. I can tell you the access road to Parfait Harmony there, that big long road by Good Fortune there. People said that a couple months back they put street lights, all the street lights gone. We got some serious thieves in this country. Good day, Mr. Gildarie. Oh my goodness.
Gildarie.
Yes. Concern the security firm, Caliber Security. I'm working with them, and the problem is the payment. The promise to pay on the 15th. Promises have been failed. The latest we've been 21 to 23, but since start work in January, money paid in February, and it goes on and on.
I get a joke from a friend that you know this friend as well too. Actually, it was a rehearsal for minibus to ease congestion in the city. That minibus. This person give us a call earlier that gave me that joke.
Yes, they're trying to ease the congestion, but
Yes.
it is a very good thing. But since we start work in January, money paid in February. So this person here, you need to get all of the Ministry of Labor, because the Ministry of Labor has made it very clear. They've sent the warning bells there to the security companies in Guyana. Need to get their act together These are people that you're talking about. These are hardworking people of Guyana. Do not treat them like that. And so we are going to call you out when we see that. Caliber security, the people saying that you're not towing the line. Whoever owns it, I'm not sure who owns it. Whatever is the case, get your act together. You need to do that. And there's two sides to every story, of course. A man called me early this week and says his boss didn't pay him. And then when we got back, I asked his boss, did you pay this man? He says, oh gosh, it's not paid yet. How am I going to pay him? So the man called back and says, I'm sorry, I was a little high when I called you. And so these are some of the things that happen. Two sides to every story.
Yes, indeed.
So it's a Wake Up Guyana show. We've come down to program time. I want to say that I hope that we've been able, over the last 2 hours or so, uplift your life somewhat. We've had a story of a young gentleman who's selling pizza to pay his way into college for a law degree. Beautiful story. Says Gunrad. Yeah, that's what sparked me. So he was the one that there. Then we had CGI's public relations officer Shonza Samuel here telling us about how you need to make arrangements to come in Guyana, what are tests that you need, and what are the requirements. And so I think today we are a little more educated, and made more aware of some of these demands, some of these mandates that has been set out by government. We are going to come back to you tomorrow, same place, same time. In the meantime, if you've missed this show here, we are coming to you live on Facebook, Kaieteur Radio on Facebook, or Kaieteur Radio live stream on YouTube. You could replay it, you could relook at it a little later. Do we have anything that we missed, Riaz?
I think we've covered most as it is, and I would echo the same sentiments of a caller. I think it was the last caller, said that everything can't happen overnight, and a little bit of time. The budget was passed, the NDC's funds are being released, projects are being highlighted. Give it some time. I know that I won't complain about a pothole that I fall in yesterday, but I'm going to hold it back, right? It's on the East Coast Highway, actually, on the East Coast Highway, and the pothole is right there that I can't go left or I can't go right because there was a motorbike to my left and there was a car to my right. I had to try my best to slow down and just drop in the pothole. Like, I hope the tire don't bust out again.
Very expensive there.
Yeah, because I had a brand new tire, less than a year. Didn't see this hole on Lamaha, period. Didn't drop in. I struggled to reach home. Next day I had to buy a brand new tire.
Yeah, it is.
But my point, give it a little bit of time. So I'm hoping that I saw strong words again, and I'm holding the Honorable Minister of Public Works to his strong words. Even if it's a small street, even if it's a community street, even if it's a public road, we need the quality work. One Edgil Minister, I am holding you to that. I know him very well. I'm holding him. He's a stern man, so I'm holding him to those words. But let us give it a little bit of time.
Thank you very much. Program time here, Wake Up Guyana Show. This has been your host, Leonard Gildarie. It's a pleasure as always. I hope that we've uplifted your lives today, that you could be able to have the strength to move forward. Let us put our shoulders to the wheel, move this beautiful country of ours forward. Let us be very stern, to use that word that was mentioned not too long ago. Let us be very focused, and let us demand that we bring this country up to a level where we should all be proud of. Next couple of years, that Gildarie and the rest of the folks and everybody, Raj and Riaz and everybody, they would say that we have a very good country here, that our country should be a shining example of leadership.
By then, Raj is going to get a Guyanese lurkey. Yep.
So until then, have a pleasant rest of the day. I'm hungry. I hope that you guys are hungry too. So enjoy yourself until. Bye-bye.
COVID-19 tips sponsored by Deck Soap. 1. Practice social distancing. 2. Wear your mask when leaving the house. 3. Wash your hands regularly for 20 seconds using our Deck Soap. 4. Cover your nose and mouth with a disposable tissue or flex elbow when you cough or sneeze. Choose Deck Soap for that extra cleanliness. Deck Soap is affordable and available nationwide.
Kaieteur Radio.
Covering Guyana from coast to coast.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.